across the West on FM,
DAB and online.
BBC Radio Bristol and BBC Somerset.
My guest this morning is a gentleman who is very much travelled in some esteemed circumstances and esteemed company. And it's my great honour to welcome Grant Harold on the phone. Grant, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've already introduced you as... I mean, you have many titles and activities and interests, but I guess the main one is as the Royal Butler. You were for a number of years butler to the Prince of Wales household.
Yes, I was. I was lucky enough to actually get to work for them, which was a dream come true for me.
Absolutely. And I mean, we'll start at the beginning because, you know, I guess that's the bit that most of our listeners will want to know about. But it struck me on the way into the studio, when you have that conversation with the careers teacher, I'm guessing not. I'm not guessing not. Most people's answer is not butler. How did it all start?
My career. It's funny you should say that because I remember sitting down with a careers advisor, and she said to me, "What's your chosen profession? What do you think you're going to go on to do?" This is when I was about 15 years old. What are you going to go on to do? And I said, "Well, there's two ambitions. One is to be an actor." And she kind of sat there going, "Oh, that'll be a bit difficult." And then I said, and the other option is to be a butler. And she said, "Well, the acting now, there isn't acting skills." So that was kind of my introduction to, me kind of deciding this is what I want to do. And that was the reaction. And not just from her. I mean, that was the reaction from everybody, from even right down to my parents, who supported me, even though they thought I was crazy with these ideas. They supported me. But the reaction was always the same. But it's funny now, speaking to those people from back then, and it's wonderful because they said you really did make your dreams, in both of those dreams in some shape or form come true.
And what's the process? Is there a butler degree or a butler university? How does it work?
For me, I was really lucky. I worked at a house in Scotland, my native country. I ended up getting a position at a house up there for a couple of years up in the Highlands of Scotland. And it was pure, again, I didn't look up in the job I was looking for a butler. My mother got a job as a housekeeper at this shooting lodge and mentioned that they needed somebody just to give a hand. So I went along with the idea of just giving a hand. I was thinking if I'm lucky, I might get a summer job just helping in the housekeeping team. And within a few days of being there, I then discovered that the family that came up a couple of times a year had butlers, and I thought, oh, this is good because at least I can discuss with them how you get into this profession. And like you've just said, I wasn't sure if there was a butler school or I'd heard about butler schools, but I didn't really jump at it. And I think also because I thought it'll probably be a bit quite expensive. And the butlers that I met who travelled with this family, they said, we'll train you if you want to join, if you want to kind of join our side." Sounds a bit like Star Wars, didn't it? You join our side. You join our side, and we can train you. And I thought, this is amazing, and that was how I began in this amazing career with these two butlers over a couple of years, just learning the basics.
And what key ingredients does it take? What key skills do you have to kind of begin with?
There's a couple of rules I teach the butlers that I train today, and it's very simple. You've got to be able to be trusted. Huge thing. That's top of the list. Trust is the main thing. That's the problem that a lot of employers today have within private homes, is they don't want to bring people into their homes because of the trust element. So that's the number one factor. Trust, discretion, being able to completely keep calm. And the other thing that's really important is being able to act. Because when you put on a butler, again, that's what's so funny about the acting side. When you put on a butler uniform, you go into this role. You go into this, whatever it is, Casson or Mr. Hudson, you go into this persona. You become this butler of this house, and it's not you. And I've spoke to many other butlers that I've worked with, and we all agree you act the part. You suddenly become this character while you've got that uniform on. The family know the real you. They get to know you, and because, like I talk to you, I'll talk to them. But when other guests come in, you go into this kind of mindset of how to behave.
More formal, Grant, I guess. More.
It is more formal, but my approach, the way I've always been myself. So even though I go into that kind of formal route, at the same time, I've always made sure that I'm friendly, and because especially when you work for royal households, people come in and they're very nervous, and the last thing they need is some butler, trying to be all kind of pompous and, do you realise how lucky you are to kind of be in this house? Where I wouldn't be like that. I was the opposite, complete opposite, where I'd make people feel welcome, try to calm them down.
Wow, really interesting. I thought the opposite would be true. I mean, you must have met some incredibly famous and world famous people, and you're putting them at ease, you say.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, you feel lucky because it's extraordinary. The people that I've met, you wouldn't meet these kind of people, and I can give you one example, which I don't think it'd be a problem to tell you, but a few years ago, I won't say which house, but I was in one of these homes, and there was a chap sitting having breakfast, and I came in. I'd been off duty. I came in and I started chatting to this chap, and he said to me, he actually said to me, he said, I recognise you, because I'd just done, but mentioned in the acting earlier on, I went on to, I've been over the last 17 years doing bits of TV. I keep kind of going in and out of TV and things. But when I first went into this career, there was a television series called Country House, and I was very much part of that. And even though we didn't have social media, everybody kind of got to know that family, and there was myself and a couple of others that were in it. Sure. But anyway, this chap sitting there, and he said, "Oh, I recognise you." He said, "You're in that programme." And so I started laughing, and I said, "Well, actually," I said, "I recognise you too." And he went into hysterics, and he kind of looked down, and he looked back at me, and he said, I like your humour. I like you, kid." So I said, I like you too. And then the butler that I was with came running down the corridor, and because he had heard this, and he grabbed me and pulled me to the side. And he said, "Have you any idea who you?" He said, "You can't say to him you think you recognise him." He said, "You must know who that is." I said, "No idea." He said, "It's Neil Diamond. He's an international singer." And I said, "Okay, I believe you." And I went, and actually I had heard of him, but I wouldn't have recognised him. And I spent the rest of the day looking after him, and he was an absolute gentleman and such real great fun.
That's fantastic. I'm going to play a track, Grant. It's a young man who I'm sure is far too young to require a butler. but if he keeps going the way he is, then it won't be long. For all those out there, this is Ed Sheeran, and we're playing Thinking Out Loud.
When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will your mouth still remember the taste of my love? Will your eyes still smile from your cheeks? Darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still fall as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Well, me, I fall in love with you every single day, and I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms, kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars, place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are. When my hair's all but gone and my memory fades, and the crowds don't remember my name, when my hands don't play the strings the same way. I know you will still love me the same. 'Cause honey, your soul could never grow old, it's evergreen. And baby, your smile's forever in my mind and memory. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. And maybe it's all part of a plan. Well, I'll just keep on making the same mistakes, hoping that you'll understand. But baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are. So baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh, darling, place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are. Or maybe we found love right where we are. And we found love right where we are.
Across the West on FM,
DAB and online.
BBC Radio Bristol and BBC Somerset.
There you are, good morning. It's me, Nick Day, waking you up this early morning breakfast with Grant Harold, who is been my guest this morning. We've been talking about some of the important people you've met, some of the places you've come across. I guess we could sit here all day and still not cover everybody. But I guess the high draw, the big name, is when you spent 7 or so years as butler to the Prince of Wales, the Duchess of Cornwall, and Princes Harry and William.
Yes.
I mean, you can't. I'm sure there's some discretions that you wouldn't dare or can't break. But tell me about that time. It must have been, that's the pinnacle, isn't it, of your career?
Well, it's funny, again, when I went into the profession, somebody actually said to me, what for you would be the pinnacle? What would you want to achieve in the butlering world? What would be the kind of the main job? And I remember I was actually in this room, and there was a silver tray next to me, and it had the Prince of Wales' name written on it. And I'd just been looking at this, funny enough, and I looked around and I said, I would like to eventually work for the Prince of Wales or the Queen. And I remember them just kind of laughing and saying, well, that won't be an easy one. I'm sure it will take you many years, but maybe by the time you're 80, you might get there. And I think I'd been in butlering for at that point just about 7 years, when my brother, who was working for the Queen, he actually fast-tracked me somehow. Not sure how he did that. Because he went into the same profession, and mentioned that the Prince was looking for a butler, and I thought, well, I decided, why not just try it and see what happens. And it was about 6 months of interviews, and then eventually in March 2004, I got to meet the Prince at Clarence House, and I was lucky enough to actually sit down and have a discussion with him. And after that, they got in touch within, I think it was within a day or two, and said we would like to offer you position of a butler within the household of Prince Wales, and that was that. And then, as I said, well, as you know, I was there for about 7 years and looked after him, the Duchess, Prince William, Harry, and at that point I suppose an unknown lady called Kate as well. So it was it was quite a magical, for me it was a magical time, and full of wonderful and probably historical memories.
And you say there is the formal aspect of the job, but you do get to know people personally. Was that something you did with the Prince, the Duchess, and the two princes?
With any family, Nick, if you're in somebody's home and you're there, I don't know, you're there, you could be there 6 days, 7 days a week, for long hours, depends on where I was and what you were doing. You do get to know whoever these people are, and so you do become not part of the family, because obviously you're not part of the family, but you almost, you know what I mean, if you're living with people that long, you just get to know them really well, and it was an absolute privilege and honour. I remember even saying that, it was an honour, because how many people can actually say that they were in that household and experienced what I experienced, and my kind of memories range from all sorts of things to driving in convoy with them to different events, to dancing with the Queen at a ball, at the Gillies Ball in Scotland, which I remember watching on ER in 1992, and there was a scene in that where you saw the Gillies Ball, and that was a moment when I said to my parents, I would love to attend that ball. Yes. They said nobody can attend, not just anyone can attend that. So when I actually got to attend it and dance with the Queen, again, that was another ambition ticked off the list.
There are very few people that can say they've danced with the Queen, Grant. And I have to say, I've never spoken to one of them before. It's not something you just drop it. You normally drop in a conversation. It was just absolutely remarkable.
It was for me, it was very nerve-wracking, because it was actually, I danced also with the Duchess of Cornwall, and that then led into this real, it's extraordinary. And again, something that sometimes with family and friends we talk about, and they said what you said, how many people can say they've experienced that, and so I do feel very, very lucky. And when I train my butlers up, I say to them, if you're lucky enough to ever get to experience these kind of things, you need the memories to always kind of treasure and to enjoy it, because at the end of the day, you might never get that experience again.
Absolutely not. And it seems a silly question, but it is, of course, the obvious one. What are they like? I mean, we see them on pedestals, I think, don't we? But they certainly the newer generation, and I mean the princes, they seem much more real, I think is the word.
Absolutely, and I mean, and I'm not saying this because I have to, because anyone's telling me I have to. They're wonderful, all of them, absolutely wonderful. They were absolutely delight to kind of be around, to look after, and as you say, they're a very modern. Thankfully, I mean, they have to be. They're a very modern family, and as I keep saying, I felt very lucky to kind of be around them, and it's because of that this wonderful experience has let me go on to do so many amazing things, because I left in 2011, and again, people would say to me, where do you go from here? Now what are you going to do? Because there's only one way to go.
Sure.
And I thought, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to keep at this. And I'm sure I've gone on to create my own company where I teach etiquette and I train butlers. And as of this year, I've formed a partnership with Blenheim Palace, and we're going to be training butlers at Blenheim Palace.
Okay, right.
As well as Thornbury Castle and a few other venues. And I've also gone on to join another royal household that I've helped create for the Queen's niece, a princess, Her Royal Highness Princess Katerina, who has now got me helping her organise and run her household. So I've gone on, and it just carries on. I've been involved in some more TV projects and some exciting projects that are coming up later this year or beginning next year. So for me, you never know what's around the corner, and that's thanks to that wonderful experience.
It's a remarkable story, Grant. You sound like a very inspirational guy with an inspirational story, and I'm so happy and so glad, so thankful you shared it with us this morning.
Well, thank you so very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Not at all. And we'll keep looking out. We'll keep looking at the website and the radio station, because I got a feeling we haven't heard the last of you, Grant. You don't stand still, my friend.
Thank you, very kind.
Grant, all the very best to you. I hope to talk to you again very soon.
You too, definitely. Thank you, Nick.
Across the West on FM,
DAB and online.
BBC Radio Bristol and BBC Somerset.